Our mission for existing is to build the most customer-obsessed communications company. So we'll have products that change, our team will change, but our mission and our purpose for being remains.
And what made you feel convinced that you could take on an entire industry that has really been kind of like screwing customers for decades now?
I think what it came down to was, would I be okay knowing that I didn't try as much as I could try? It's more personal than global. Can you make an impact on one customer's life, 10 customer, 100 customer, and kind of go from there?
Has there been any issue with building trust with them when they've already been burned by other brands?
I mean, that's what great brands are about, right? It's trust. Don't violate the trust ever, because that you can't get that back. It's so hard to get it back.
Hey everybody, and thank you for listening. My name is Andres Figueira, and I'm going to be your host for the day. This show is brought to you by the Global Talent Company. We're helping fast-growing teams hire exceptional remote talent from Argentina, South Africa, and anywhere really, while we connect companies with these world-class professionals. They'll be able to bring skill, reliability, and global perspective to every role. So if your team is looking to grow with proven remote talent, head on over to theglobaltalent.co and see how we can help. And today, with me here, I am speaking with James Graham, founder and CEO of Community Phone, which is the next generation of telecom for families and small business owners, that is creating a unified communications platform for the community. So, James, it's a pleasure to have you here. How are you doing today?
I'm well. It's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you so much for having me.
We're very glad to have you hop on here, man. And just so that we can get started and give the audience a bit more context as to where you come from, James, and what Community Phone is, would you be able to give us a bit more of insight of how everything started with this?
Yeah. Well, at bottom, we weren't thrilled with our relationship toward our phone company. I don't know who is. Nobody goes around saying, I love my phone company. It's super easy to get a hold of them when I call. And they mistreated my grandmother one day. My immigrant granny from Scotland was trying to get some help with her phone. And she walked into the store of a big phone company and was sold a super expensive multi-$1,000 phone she didn't need. She wanted help with her email. She was locked up in all sorts of stuff. And so we didn't, the thing that provided me freedom in my childhood, which was the internet, and the gatekeepers of the current internet today are providing a sense of, they're not providing a sense of service and freedom to people who need it most, didn't sit well with me. And so that was kind of some of the origin of the company. And it's evolved a lot since that beginning, but that never really changes. Our mission for existing is to build the most customer-obsessed communications company. So we'll have products that change, our team will change, but our mission and our purpose for being remains.
I love the noble cause behind how Community Phone started. That is so nice, man, because I had my grandmothers too, and I saw them get taken advantage of. And this was in Venezuela, where the phone contracts and the phone costs aren't that high, but seeing that happen to your own grandma, man, it really must, it must have hit a nerve there.
Yeah. And I wouldn't say it's just about the price. It's also about the confidence or this sense of empowerment that's missing. But the price is a demonstration of that as well. Yeah.
Of course. And James, would you be able to tell us about how, when this issue and when this motivation given to what happened to your grandmother started, how did you feel and what made you feel convinced that you could take on an entire industry that has really been kind of like screwing customers for decades now?
I guess I thought a lot about my death, and at the point of my death, how I would measure my life. And I think what it came down to was, would I be okay knowing at the end that I didn't try as much as I could try, I think. So that really is what, in consideration of even just taking the first step, it's more personal than global, which is, could I really live with the idea that I didn't give it my all or put it all on the field? And that question really bothered me because I knew I was still holding back, and I still am sometimes. I hold back, and this question doesn't go away. It kind of nags at you. It sits in the back of your brain, at least it asks, because I'm going to know at the, and I know, and and I'll have to be there with myself, and I'm going to know, did I live according to my values? Did I give it my all? And so on. And at the time I knew I was, so that was enough to get started, Of course, that's a more rational business. Do you have what it takes to go against this global hegemony, the AT&T damn well invented the phone, right? Hell, that type of legacy. And that matters more as you scale. But at the very beginning, for anybody listening who's starting a business, what matters is more personal. Can you make an impact on one customer's life, 10 customer, 100 customer, and kind of go from there.
Okay. So that's where the customer obsessed comes from, because if you get me to think about it, I would feel that then that is your main differentiator from all these legacy companies and phone what's it called, and telecom brands, right? It's like
Well,
the fact that you are actually worrying about the customers and not just grabbing a buck whenever they come in the store.
Yeah. Well, and that's definitely part of it. Culture is the strong force. And at the beginning, we would serve them coffee. We'd answer their calls every time they came, save them a little bit of money. And that works for a little bit. Building a business is kind of a series of mini games where what got you this step might not take you to the next step, and so on and so forth. And that annoying humility, but also coupled with motivation. And so you'll have to change and adapt. And, so the differentiation of our product and service today is very different from the differentiation of the product at the beginning. And so today we serve for franchise owners, small business owners, families, and seniors,
Okay.
And so our differentiation is kind of different by segment. And if you are, for example, a family with, mom who's aging in place, and maybe she's early onset dementia, the phone breaks for you because mom starts talking to spammers. There start to be some, financial things involved where, she's maybe feeling some loneliness. And so she's talking to a spammer. And then with the community phone, the family's able to set an allowed list. So only numbers on this list for inbound or outbound calls are allowed to get through. And the family will have a mobile application so they can monitor who mom is talking to. Is she talking to a doctor? Is she remaining social? And so that provides a very tight differentiation for that niche. But at the beginning, that wasn't obvious to us, right? That sort of emerged. And then you got to have your ear to the ground, be open to it. But what's common across all of our portfolio product and our portfolio customer segments is this attitude that we bring toward it, Because if you look at the org chart, we're always presented with a contradiction, which is somebody like me who's quote unquote at the top, but it's really more like the center, the org chart. I get further and further from the customer over time. And I get more and more power in the organization. This is a crisis, right? This is a real problem, right? So it's really about creating a culture where like the people that are on the front lines that are actually talking to customers who are not an abstraction. Those are people just like you and me, right? Customers, we look at it as marketers, performance marketers a lot of the time. It's very quantitative, but these are people, and so it's about building a culture internally where those insights and the real honesty of are we delivering flows to the people like me who are, sometimes furthest from and sometimes the most confused about. You know what I mean?
Of course. No, and it's even ironic. The idea came from you, the whole vision of the mission and everything. It just starts with you. And now that you're pulled away from that, and in terms of that, you have other responsibilities. It is important to find a workforce and employees who also believe in what you guys represent and make sure they convey and give that feeling to the customers you have. Because if you lose that, then what is your actual differentiator from what got you started in the first place,
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And the beauty is if you get that right, it keeps on giving. And that's what's scarce. Like that's one of the things that's hardest to scale. Most companies have one product market fit and then they scale it and the economics get increasingly worse and worse over time. But if you can figure out at least what we message internally, there are some companies that have figured out multiple, right? Disney being one of them, Amazon being another one, Apple being another. So it's possible. It's just harder.
Of course. No, I understand that. And James, in terms of the message, the vision, and the mission of what Community Phone is, how have you been able to market that and get the customers you have and the people that are coming to Community Phone to understand that that is what you guys want to provide to them as the differentiator?
Yeah. I wouldn't say that we do this well, actually. I would say that we do part of it well. And because we've gotten other things right, we're getting away with a lot. And that's why, by the way, we're hiring. I would love to build out a marketing team. And so anybody listening, that's a big current focus of mine is to build out our marketing team of really strong, interested people to come work with me. And on our engineering team, we have people who, one of them won an Oscar, Best Foreign Film, former founders who scaled to low, middle ARR and want to come write code again. And so we're kind of building out this team of kind of these entrepreneurial, weirdo types, that want to become and let loose.
I love that. Those are outliers, super
Yeah.
special people.
Yeah. And to come back to your question about, like, I don't think I could say that doing that well or doing that completely. And it's an ongoing struggle. An example of this is, okay, we know our product can provide this full scope of value, but we're seeing conversion, for example, based on a belief around a much smaller scope of that value. So, for example, a plug and play phone where you don't get spam calls and it's super ultra reliable, right? And if you're a small business, you get that phone, we can unlock SMS for you. We can grow your appointment revenue. If you're a barbershop, we can allow for this collaborative value where employees can use the platform from wherever they are to call, message, and collaborate. But businesses maybe aren't converting for that. So it's about being very disciplined about what is the message that's driving conversion, and then the associated lifecycle messaging where they maybe expand. We're not good right now as a business on where to put that seam. My bias is front loading that messaging to the top of the funnel where we have to communicate all the value at once. And some of my colleagues are aware of my deficit here and they're like, hang on a second. We just have to communicate one message super well, and that gets them in the door, and then we can tell them about the rest of it. And so there's a constant back and forth and attention there. And it also matters who you're talking to. Just because people share a problem doesn't mean they're the same person. Or I often find we're not clear ourselves on the problem they're trying to solve or who they're referencing when they're making a buying decision about that problem. So we end up averaging a lot of the messaging. And the analogy that I like to use here is if we were starting a restaurant and we wanted to produce an average piece of food, and so we average all the different types of cuisine, Italian cuisine, Indian cuisine, we average them all out and we get like a gray ham that nobody wants,
I was thinking tomato is the common denominator.
Right. Yeah. Okay. But that's not really, you're going to miss out on opportunities if that's the approach. And that's what you get when there's a democracy too much, or it's like, okay, it's a popular opinion internally. And so you want to have people who have strong opinions and are right. You can have strong opinions and be wrong. That's pretty common too. But I'm increasingly sensitive to this as time goes on, and I'm increasingly less willing to say that I know any general answer as well.
Okay, no, but I think humility is the most important part, because as long as you remain humble, you'll stay curious and make sure that you are getting the right answers, even if you feel that you're not. So that's okay. And James, has it happened that when you are trying to get consumers and customers to come on to Community Phone, to use your product and to try your service, has there been any issue with building trust with them when they've already been burned by other brands, or maybe they've had bad experiences with AT&T or other types of legacy brands?
Yes, and also we're not perfect. It's a hard problem, and so we lose trust for reasons in our control with our customers sometimes as well. And these are great learning opportunities. And so all of this, we're not perfect. We try to get it right 99% of the time, and then add a 9 and a 9 and a 9. We're never going to be 100%. But I think building trust that's what great brands are about, right? It's trust,
of course,
right? And as a remote company as well, we also run on trust. Right. And so if the customer is internal, such as an employee, or external, such as McDonald's, and we're more than 100 McDonald's right now,
wow,
it's all about trust. And it's hard. I can tell you, it's really easy to lose it. Right. And there are a lot of general ways and a lot of common ways that things we can come up with to lose it. And so I think in any strategy, you want to be really sensitive to not screwing it up.
Okay.
Because people will give. People actually want to be helped, and people are fundamentally open and fundamentally hopeful. And so they'll give it even if you don't deserve it, right? Sometimes. I've seen it many times, right? And so in those cases, just don't screw it up, right? Don't make their bet be wrong, even if they shouldn't have made that bet because you didn't prove enough at the top of the funnel or whatever. But I think what we do is we include this in our product strategy, ways to lose trust. The way that we lose trust is if we don't answer the call in less than 90 seconds during our business hours, right? Or that's something that we've learned. That doesn't matter who you are. Our promise is we're available for you. We're like the, competent grandson that'll help with your IT stuff and be there for you. And if we don't answer, you might have had 9 good interactions with us, but if we're not there that 10th time, you're going to start to want, reasonably. And so just don't screw it up. Answer the call, 90th percentile, time to answer during business hours, less than 90 seconds. That's a great way to lose. That's the layup. Just don't screw it up. Another one is be consistent and be correct about what they want to hear. They don't want to hear it all. And tell the truth. If you can't provide it and they're looking for wrong and your competitor has something, but tell them, and then go back to your product team and say, hey guys, we need to change, but don't violate the trust ever, because that you can't get that back. It's so hard to get it back.
It's true. And I do understand what you mean. It could be in a position where a potential customer is like, yeah, I got all these benefits with this other company. And somebody could easily just say like, yeah, we'll give them all to you as well. And then not deliver and lose their trust just to get them to sign and pay. And once they're in the contract, it's too late to leave. So that customer will probably end up hating the company.
Right. But, and I'll even add that it's like a lot of people, we make decisions for one reason normally. And as humans, we then retroactively reconstruct with a lot of other reasons. But there's usually one core inner fear that we have some level of consciousness around that's compelling us to enter market to begin with. Maybe it's price. Maybe it's this lack of but it's something that's super severe or super frequent or some combination of both. And so I think that as a product team and as a marketing team, we're going to want to know what those signals are by segment. Exactly. And if we're winning business based on what looks like a checklist of 20, 30 things, we're going to miss out on improving our ability to detect that underlying signal for that underlying single problem that's getting them into market to begin with.
Okay.
Right? And there's there's sort of an additional, and a simpler example of this, or where I see a lot of more junior growth teams miss out on opportunities like this, is say, well, we'll just lower the cost and we'll get business this. Well, we're not going to learn how to build a truly differentiated product if we're just the competitors but cheaper. We already know that people want. So maybe that's what we're trying to learn. And then you're running a business like Amazon, which is more process driven rather than product driven. But for building a true like product company, I think that you want to add friction, actually. And then if customers really have a problem, and it also depends how early we are in the go-to-market and so on. If we're scaling something, it's a little bit different from proving the product. But this is just a very long way of agreeing with you and then some.
And in terms of consumer behavior that you've seen around community phone, has there been anything that surprised you that you say like, Telecom isn't seeing this, and this is what I'm providing? Like, for example, and I love the fact of what you mentioned, that you have like these guardrails for when grandma's home alone and then no weird person can call her, or she can't call any random number. I don't think that's something that legacy brands provide or make easy to enable, right? Do you have any other types of services that you feel Telecom has missed?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The list is maybe there are maybe a dozen things on that list.
I love that. I'm all ears.
And we could be wrong too. Like, again, it just because it hasn't been, usually there's a really good reason something hasn't been provided. And so it's about against the consensus, but also being correct. And being correct is hard, right? It's really hard. And another example would be something like, well, if we look at the case of a small business, or a multi-location business that's better, but maybe below 10 million in revenue, or a new business, there are basic problems between they have to get something called voice over IP. What is that? I got to hire an IT person to get that. They go to their phone company. Their phone company says, I'll give you an additional line. And so we see a lot of customers today assembling a voice stack where you got your wireless over here from, Verizon Wireless, and you have maybe Google Voice over here, or Ring Central, or 8x8, or some other voice over IP. And we're kind of looking at that and we're going, well, you've been selling pizzas for 2 generations. Why are you assembling a voice supply chain? Like, maybe instead of telling you to hire a consultant, we should just build a simpler product and vertically integrate a lot of those concerns. And so that's an area of research. It's also, that's how they make money. If you're a hair cutter, those calls that's appointments. And so we have some features where if you miss a call, for example, or how we help the marketing of our customers, our small businesses, we have many features that help you capture that incremental revenue. So if you miss the call, we send an appointment via SMS with a booking link, and then you can click that link and come to our hosted webpage. So we collect the lead for you. You fill out that lead form, and then we redirect you to your third-party billing system. So then we as Community Phone can see just on missed call how much additional revenue we're generating for you. And there are a host of additional AI solutions that we're seeing customers add on here. But phone calls are equal. Some people want to pay you money, so let's just make that easier to do. You know,
I love that. And I had not heard of that solution to missing a call for a potential lead. That's amazing because that really provides a business owners and small businesses the opportunity to keep concentrated in what they do and not need to have somebody just like on the phone all day, which is the how it should be. But it really provides that confidence that you could miss a call and you're not going to miss business, which is important.
and if you have many locations, might want visibility across all those locations, or people at some locations to answer calls that people at others don't. And as the business owner, you want to see, are you providing a consistent brand experience? Are employees working at all those locations? And you can get that through our mobile app or our desktop app as the business owner. And so that ends up becoming a new versus needing a different cable instance at every single location.
Of
as well.
course. No, I'm loving everything I'm hearing because I'm understanding a lot more of the part of community rather than phone in the whole brand that you guys have, because it's a lot that you're integrating into the solution, and it really provides less headaches than other types of legacy brands. And James, you mentioned something that I wanted to talk about as well, which is it's a question I ask all the different industries I speak to, and it's how are you guys leveraging AI? Or if you could maybe give us some insight of how some of your clients are using it with community phone, that would be super interesting.
Definitely. And I'll also preface this by saying this isn't it's not something we need to be afraid of. And there are other forms of AGI already in our society. Capital is one of them, right? The decentralized global economic system is its own form of AGI. And so let's just not be we don't need to sometimes there's a fear energy that's brought to this, which we can be aware of. And it's a tool for humans. Let's use this to build value for customers, right? And let's make it I also haven't heard of a single and also customers, when they feel like they're interacting with technology, it's usually when it's not working. Right? When the products are working really well, they're usually saying things like, I'm making more money. This is just easy. Like, oh, I don't have to worry anymore.
I love how seamless it is. I didn't even notice. Exactly.
Right. So maybe there's a lot of AI. Sometimes there might be a lot of AI going into that. But let's get super clear about what customers want and what the best customer experience is, and work back from that into whatever technology might be appropriate. So I just want to add that disclaimer before the question.
I love it. Okay.
Yeah. And so about how we use AI, there are two sides to this. What we're doing to create value for our customers who are using our product and the role of AI in that. And then as community phone and our internal business operation, how we're seeing the use of AI streamline our business to provide more customer value. And I just like where we're the customer versus our customers. And where we're the customer, we see it on our basic things like our web chat. We had an engineer build our own instance and our own self-hosted web chat. So we trained it on all of our recorded calls, and we're able to provide a very consistent customer experience and one that humans can still easily intervene on, right, if it doesn't. And so we've seen that work. It provides a much more consistent brand experience, consistent coverage. And so that's great. It generates quotes automatically for customers. And we have an engineering culture where nobody asks the engineer to go and ship this. He's like, hey, I think I can free up a team of 4 people and provide a more consistent, and he just kind of shipped it. And we're like, great. So nobody really asked him to go and do this. He took a little bit of courage, but he had the clarity and he had the conviction and he made the change. Right. And so that's part of what it's like working at Community Phone. So I thought that was really interesting. I think what we're also seeing with the product, and we also use it to maybe there are other things we use it internally for, but I'll talk about the ones that we're using it for in the product, which is with our call recording, where if we enable the call recording ability for our customers, we have a lot of unique content that's unique to that business, and then can build a lot of automated solutions for that business, such as their own web chat or their own SMS sort of lead qualification based on what they've already said about their business that we can then use to train whatever AI. We also see it with the auto answering after hours. But again, it depends. A lot of people want control. So it's not as simple as just, it's better than. You want to still allow for interruptibility. You want to allow for them to still have their personal because it's not all created equal. If you're a business owner, small business owner who wants to adopt it, you still want your own personal stamp on it, and you still want the ability to control it if it goes off the rails, which it sometimes does, right? And so there's no all or none. And then the third area that we're looking at it is on the call itself. And this is purely an area of research, where if you and I are talking right now and we begin to miscommunicate, for example, or and this is just maybe where I as an individual am interested in it, which is that the more that I use my smartphone today, the worse I become at communicating with other humans. I'm stuck on
Happens to me too.
right? I'm stuck on apps. I'm like, if you send that to me and it's not in a short video form, I might not even parse it.
Uh-huh.
You should show. I mean, I just think it's interesting that as a society today, the phones that we're using, and the more that our kids in our society are using phones, the worse they're becoming at communicating with one another.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's interesting. Imagine a phone where the more you used it, the better you became at communicating with one another, rather than just becoming better at clicking on ads for whoever's in the, running the media businesses. I think AI could play a very important role as it relates to this kind of innate human-to-human communication, and an agent that has awareness over who we are and our own deficits or how we were raised and so on, and could kind of nudge us or kind of intervene, and it's not exactly clear how we would do that today, but the technology is fast enough and good enough that I believe there's a product opportunity there.
Of course. Like, I imagine there must be a great level of tinkering and making sure that the specifics are right. But when you mention this idea to me, I imagine myself on my phone having a conversation about an offer or a contract for a product. And maybe I'm like, okay, so it's like this, and that. And then the AI participates in the conversation to say, you actually missed this other part, and I'm not sure if you knew this. And then the sales rep could confirm or not, and then just make sure to build up from there. Okay.
And even things as simple as, or any sales reps listening, like you're on a call and then you have to enter out a form in your CRM. Well, I always hated that. Why don't you just stream it in there for me? I mean, God,
it would
like,
be
why do I have to go
streamlining.
Like
Of course.
something as simple as that,
Oh my goodness. Yes. Just making life a little bit easier. It doesn't have to provide all the solutions, but it can save a bit of time.
Right. Or it's like, okay, we got AGI coming. It's going to be floating in the sky and running human civilization. Is that really going to happen before I stop getting spam calls? Or like caller ID is that really going to come before spam calls are fixed? Like, it could, but if it's this all power, like, we'd probably fix spam calls first.
This is not, if you hadn't mentioned it, James, I would go my whole life without thinking that was something that needed to be solved. And I bet we would have had flying cars with AGI before fixing spam calls. But it's true. It's true. And there are a lot of things, small things that people haven't gotten to solving with AI yet that I know that they'll surely be worked on in the short to medium term. But okay. I love how you guys are using AI, and this is mainly within community phone, right? Because then there's the other way that your customers are using AI within the...
Yeah, and some of that isn't included in, like, if we have and because we share, some of our problems are similar problems that our customers have, right? So one of the areas that we're looking at is on the recorded call, making it very easy for our customers to take action with it as this type of insight. So, we noticed you're missing calls after 5. Just click here to have them roll over. Or we saw that this customer did this, kind of have the auto follow up. Or similarly with the auto SMS on missed call, having a back and forth with the SMS agent that's a messaging agent to increase the rate from missed call to appointment book rate for that haircuttery or any appointment-based business.
Okay.
But even from the business owner's perspective, they wouldn't be clear to them even that it's this AI. They're not buying AI agent; they're just buying more efficient appointment book rates from their,
Of
so
course.
it's not really. So those are some of the types of applications where the AI is more invisible.
I love it.
Yeah, so that's primarily what we're looking at there.
Okay, so cool. And James, I have a question like this one. It's not even in my notes. It's just one that popped up right now. And it's the fact that my understanding is you guys are located in the States and you serve every single state, right? But are you outside, or do you work, or are you like worldwide? Could you use community phone from anywhere?
Yeah. So you can use our mobile app or our desktop app from anywhere. But our plug and play phone, which, or our wireless cell phone plans only work in the 50 United States currently.
Okay. Okay. And do you have any plans of expanding, like, or do you have enough on your plate right now, and then you'll think about that?
Yeah, I think the United States market is pretty big, and like we prefer to be the biggest fish first in a pond before expanding the scope of the pond and really, really taking care of the customer fully before broadening scope. We think that's a better way to scale, but we're not ruling anything out.
Awesome. No, that sounds totally logical, and it's like, don't bite off more than you can chew. Make sure that you have everything you need to succeed in your hometown or your home country, and then just go try it out somewhere else.
And it relates to your earlier question around trust. We're very sensitive to the trust. Would we be reducing the chance that we can deliver on the commitments that we've made to our existing customers? It's kind of all around that question that you asked earlier.
Of course. Oh yeah, I get that totally. I totally get that. And okay, I can see, James, that we're almost at time. So because I don't want to take too much of your day, but I did want to give you the opportunity before we finalize the episode to let anybody in the audience who's listening know how they can find out further about the services that community phone offers if they're in the States, or even if they're somewhere else in the world but want to try out the online app or what you mentioned you you did have available. How could they go about doing so?
Yeah, so you can go to communityphone.org and sign up for that. Yeah, and then anybody that wants to, we're actively hiring marketers as well, and so you should be more than you can go on our website and apply. Or you can email me directly. It's just my first name at our domain name, and thank you for listening.
That is perfect. And thank you, James, for hopping on the episode. It really has been a pleasure, and it's been amazing to hear about Community Phone because I saw the website of what you guys do, and I was genuinely curious of what is this, because I had not seen this concept before, and it really is super cool, man. So congratulations.
Great contribution, Andres. I appreciate it.
No problem at all. And to anybody in the audience who's here with us, thank you so much for listening to the episode. I hope you enjoyed what we talked about, and we keep coming on to hear the different personalities that we have come on the show and the different industries that we talk to. So thank you very much.